Hey everyone. Ooh, wow, that is loud through my headphone. I can hear myself echo. That's awesome. Hi, we're at Pace 2023. Quite nice. I'll introduce myself. Hi, I'm Mega Ant-Man, and today I'm going to be running Skylanders Spyro's Adventure for the Nintendo Wii. This is going to be 80%. I've been running this game for coming up on 3 years, I think. Just a little fun fact, I'm from the area, so Maryland State Pride. Commentator, we have MarkAlarm here.
Hello, I'm MarkAlarm. I have also run this game for a few years. I primarily run glitchless, but I learned the standard 90% to be able to help Ann out with the commentary.
All right, so Skylanders Spyro's Adventure. This is the first game of the Skylanders franchise, if you're familiar with it. If you could see my lovely layout here. You can't see all of it, but you got the portal here. This is the introduction to the Toys to Life series as like a whole, so you might have heard of Disney Infinity or Lego Dimensions, Amiibo. We have Skylanders. This came out in 2011 by Activision. And yeah, I'm just going through the hub real quick. Just want to show you like what the game looks like if you're not familiar with it. A few things I want to explain. First of all, the run, I have it set to English. It's actually supposed to be in French, but that's like a small time save. I figure you guys, any Skylanders fans out there, want to hear some nice Flynn dialogue. Second of all, I'm player 2. That's going to be important later in the run, after Chapter 5. And then lastly, I'm going to be starting on the first file of the game. So I guess we're going to go ahead and get ready to start. Anything else you want to mention, Mark?
I think we're ready to just jump into it.
Awesome. This is a very fun speed game. It's all full of glitches, crazy skips, big time saves. You guys will love it, and I think Skylanders fans especially will really, really enjoy this. Mark, I'm ready to go. You take over comms, and yeah, go ahead and count down.
Sounds good. All right, let's get started in 3, 2, 1, go. All right, so immediately we're going to be starting off by using Zap, one of the water Skylanders. Interesting thing to note is there are 8 different elements per Skylander, and we're going to actually be utilizing every single element in this game. We use all the Skylanders for very specific use cases, so we'll be using Zap now. But we actually are going to immediately say the first trick in the run called One Player, Two Controller, or 1P2C for short. You may be familiar with people doing like 2 players controlling 1 controller, but this is kind of the inverse of that. And it used that to be able to open up a gate and then go through it with the other Skylander in order to skip a cutscene. So already saving quite a bit of time there. So, and then immediately taking off the second player after he was done with that first skip. So now he's just going through the rest of this level a bit normally.
Something I forgot to mention, I'm actually using the Skylanders Giants portal. Just because it lights up and it looks cool, but this is actually not optimal. If you're familiar with the franchise, the 5th game of the series, Superchargers, has the most optimal portal. Just because this one sometimes lags out, and when you put a Skylander on, it doesn't load for like a few seconds. So just a fun little fact.
Yeah, and if you're like concerned about the fact that Ant's going to be going through so many different Skylanders or the little figurines throughout this run, don't be alarmed. There's NFC cards that you can use. We recently started allowing them, so if you find this game interesting, it's very easy to get into. So this next segment coming up with pushing this turtle, Ant's going to be attempting this technique called snapback. It's called a snapback, where he flicks the nunchuck in a certain way to push the turtle but not get an animation. So it saves about a second or just under per push, but when you're pushing several turtles or blocks throughout the run, if you get it every single time, it can very easily add up to 30 seconds, a minute, depending on the category.
Use those bounce pads. They're super springy.
So right now we're actually going to be going into the next big technique in this run, where we're going to be doing another instance of 1P2C, getting Bash on the portal, and then immediately taking him off. Maybe you might be wondering why we did that, and I'll explain that in just a sec. But first, we're going to just spin up this wall, skip a very long sequence with a big cutscene, and an enemy gate, but we're just going to go right past it just by spinning over a wall. And finishing up Chapter 1 very nicely here. Pretty good start to the run. So, to explain real quick, the reason we put Bash on and immediately took him off is for a technique called warping, where essentially you're storing the coordinates or the position of one of the players. So in this instance, and storing the player 1 coordinates. And what he's going to do is he's going to go from player 2 to player 1, and the game doesn't reset the coordinates in between levels or even within the same level properly. So you'll see in just a moment, he's going from player 2, swapping to player 1, doing a quick swap off, going into stealth elf for reasons we'll explain in just a sec, and he just teleports right across the map, going basically halfway to near the end of the level. Using Stealth Elf here for a couple reasons. One, she's generally just very fast with this pretty quick roll. Two, as a life Skylander, she's able to open up this leaf bridge, so skipping this is a dev-intended shortcut, so just skipping a major part of the level. This is not a dev-intended shortcut. We're swapping over to Bash because of his large hitbox, clipping through a wall, and triggering the end cutscene. So very clean Chapter 2.
Any Drobot fans?
Yeah, so now we're going to be using Drobot. And we're only going to be using Drobot for this one instance of the run, and we're going to have Drobot fly over and shoot these brambles or bushes from a far distance just to get rid of them very quickly. And now we're going to quit to the menu, and we're going to rejoin the same file, which is why we use file 1, just to avoid a little bit of menuing. And the reason we do that is because there's supposed to be a cutscene that plays after finishing the brambles section, but if you go to the menu and enter back, it considers the cutscene already played, so it skips having to do that cutscene. Interestingly enough, in the optimal language French, it actually loses time to just do that. However, because we need to use Ghost Roaster in this level, we need to swap the player anyway. And going to the menu gives us effectively a free Skylander swap, so it ends up saving just a little bit of time. But if you didn't want to do the swap, it would also save time in English just because of the language differences. But now we're Ghost Roaster, and we're going to be seeing Ghost Roaster a lot in this run for just a property of his with his dash. He's able to just kind of go over walls like that without any problems. And now he's going to try to get on this pillar and launch over this gate. That was a very recent time save that was found, being able to just launch over that gate. We had an alternate method you'll actually see in just a moment, where he's going to bring in the second player, put Zook on, and what he's going to do is he's going to use Zook to grow some mushrooms and just push Ghost Roaster through the gate. We actually used to use that for the first gate and also other instances or areas in this run, but now only that gate is skipped with Zook. So very recent development to go for just launching over the gate.
It's actually found by the person commentating the run right now.
Thank you for calling me out.
You're welcome.
But now we're just doing some invisible movement on some collision that you can't see. There's supposed to be a ship there, but because we're skipping certain level triggers, the ship just isn't rendered, but its collision is there, so we can just walk over it without a problem.
That was a really good Chapter 3, by the way.
That was a very clean Chapter 3. Good stuff so far. And then just launching over that final gate. So we have a little bit of hub movement real quick. I'm going to talk to Persephone, which is used for upgrading the Skylanders. Interestingly enough, we don't opt for perfect upgrades on Skylanders because some of the upgrades actually lose time. But now we're going to come over here to the side of this tent with Stealth Elf, and we're setting up another warp if you were paying close attention.
Oh, it's got a fuel-injected
So,
propagator,
gonna wait for Flynn to finish talking, and we'll be entering Chapter 4 and immediately using the benefits of this warp.
Even had a few parts left over. Are you ready to go, Chief?
Hey, Ant.
Hi, Mark.
Are you ready to go, Chief?
After the warp.
After the warp.
Yeah, we have a big warp coming up.
Yeah, this warp is going to skip basically the entirety of Chapter 4. There are a lot of instances in this run where we skip basically the entire chapter, but have to do some movement. But you'll get to see pretty late in the run where we genuinely skip the entire thing. No basicallys or close enoughs. It's the entire thing. Swapping back over to Stealth Elf, warping to basically the end of the level, running around some invisible collision, again because of level triggers that make certain parts of the level load, except for these spike objects for some reason. And also, thankfully, the end of level trigger, so we're able to just roll over here, not have to kill any enemies, and we're already done with the air segment of this run.
I'm ready to go now, by the way.
He's ready to go, Chief. So the reason we're using Stealth Elf is a combination both of her speed and of her damage per second. You'll often hear us abbreviated as DPS. Right now we're doing a lock puzzle. This is the only lock puzzle on the run because we skip all the other ones, but this just kind of is the tutorial for how to do lock puzzle. Yeah, Stealth Elf is very useful both in this category and is generally considered one of the best Skylanders in this game, in between her speed and DPS, but you'll see in certain instances that other Skylanders are able to be faster or do more damage, and we'll point those out when we get there. Coming up now is Chapter 5, and this is actually one of the least glitched levels in the game. It's very, like, resistant to breaks or sequence skips. So we actually have to effectively do the glitchless route for this level, where we actually, go around, kill the enemies, push blocks where they need to go, open up some keys. We'll see one minor save in just a moment, but other than that, this is a fairly standard level. So right here, Ant's gonna turn this lever and try to roll at a precise time.
I missed it. Yeah,
I missed it. So if he rolls at a certain time, he's able to prevent that cutscene from playing, and also that that pan over to the control. So missing is not that big of a deal. Loses a little bit of time, but not too bad. And the rest of this level is fairly straightforward, just kind of rolling around.
Yeah, I also made that laser cutscene unskippable. Normally you can just still skip it, but the sequence I did those dashes in just kind of like messed up the game. So it's actually a time loss at that.
Yeah, there's some puzzles in this game where you have to do them in a specific order to get a cutscene skip. We don't know why. Also, the camera here is just having a day off. We don't know why the camera is panned in this direction. We call it drunk camera, just kind of off to the side. And we're approaching the end of Chapter 5.
Right there at the end, you can sometimes rarely, you get this like unskippable cutscene. The game glitches out, so you can move while you're supposed to be in a cutscene. It's rare, but it happens at the end of Chapter 5, and it loses a lot of time.
Yeah. Pretty good Chapter 5 other than the cutscene skip. So here's why we started the run as player 2. You just collected that oil can. For whatever reason, being player 1 just causes the camera to pan over to the far viewer, which is what we just powered up. But if you're player 2, it doesn't happen. So we start as player 2 and it saves time. Bad Gurglefin RNG.
Yeah, Gurglefin, that character can spawn at any point on the dock, and there's a 50% chance he spawns at the end of the dock and it loses 2 seconds. So bad RNG.
Yeah.
There's a bit of RNG throughout the run.
So now we're starting Chapter 6, and we'll be setting up another warp very shortly. We're going to be doing the start of this level fairly normally, but we're going to be very quickly introducing another big technique, another big skip that you'll be seeing throughout the rest of the run very, very soon. Right now he's just going to do some basic rolls, bonk the top of that mast to fall down faster to start rolling faster, setting up another warp. This warp actually is pretty interesting for reasons I'll explain in just a moment. We'll grab this key, come back down, and in a moment we will see the introduction of Warnado, dubbed commonly in the community as Soup, for reasons I won't bother explaining. So bringing in Warnado, and we'll be showing off a technique called the Warnado jump, where you just kind of dash, and with specific angles on the nunchuck, you kind of just jump up. Also, this is, I'm pretty sure this is ant skip.
Yep.
Where you kind of just bounce on that bounce pad and clip up. You'll hear me refer to that trick as a soup jump throughout the rest of this run, just because it's been ingrained into my mind. We don't refer to tricks as their canonical name anymore. But anyway, now we're Cinder. Cinder is an instance where there's a Skylander that's like faster than Stealth Elf in the form of Cinder's dash, but isn't faster in all use cases because there are instances where you have to do combat or you have to turn tight corners. So Cinder is useful in certain instances, and this is one of them. Not just for her dashing ability, but also because of another game mechanic where either water Skylanders or Skylanders that have wings can just fly over water. So you'll see in just a moment that Ant's just flying over water. It's a completely dev-intended mechanic to just fly over the level like this. So it saves quite a bit of time being, you know, a dev-intended shortcut. And there's a lot of open ground as well, so it's very convenient to use Cinder and her dash, because it overlaps being able to fly over water and getting pretty good speed.
Yeah, this is a deceivingly hard chapter, actually. Cinder movement's a little difficult, just because if you miss your angle slightly, you kind of mess up the rest of the chapter.
Yeah. Another instance of just invisible collision. There's supposed to be a ship there, and you're supposed to do this, like, long auto-scroller, basically, but we just fly through it. That was actually a fairly good Chapter 7, so fairly good Cinder movement.
We're going to come up on another recent development found by the person who's commentating this run.
Thank you for calling me out. So, excuse me, this is the main villain of Skylanders Chaos. And the main gimmick of these boss fights is you fight shadow clones of the very Skylanders that used to play this game, dubbed Shadowlanders. So what Ant just did there is he swapped from player 2 to player 1 back to player 2, and for whatever reason it causes basically a warp on the same player, and he's able to just skip an entire phase of this boss fight by doing that. Not sure why it works, but it does, and this was a very, very recent time save discovered by me, so I'll plug myself a little bit.
Thank you, Mark.
Yeah, it saves about 1:20 to 1:30.
Yeah, that's a huge time save. And also Voodoo right there was never used in the runs prior, but someone in the community named Pool actually found that you can optimize at least one of these Shadowlanders with Voodoo. So now Voodoo is in the run for, what is that, like 15 seconds maybe? So
Yeah. It's interesting that some of these Skylanders have just very, very small niche use cases, but they're able to be showcased in the run. And because of Voodoo, we now see every single elemental Skylander at least once in the run. So now we're seeing all 3 Shadowlanders at once. And we'll see if Ant can get the trick here. I'll explain it in just a moment if he gets it.
Oh,
that was very good. I don't know how that worked.
I'm going to tell you I have not got it. That's called a double unload. I'm going to tell you I've not had that in a very long time in this chapter.
That was very good. So what happened there was after a Shadowlander dies, it generally plays a cutscene of it dropping its XP, dropping food, that sort of thing. But if you kill Shadowlanders close enough to one another, it ends up... I don't know why we call it unload. I guess we unload the cutscene or something like that. But it unloads the cutscene and you save time from it. It's about 4 seconds per unload. Pretty good clams. So Ant got a double unload where he only had to kill... He only got one cutscene but was able to kill all the Shadowlanders with it. Now, if you remember the warp back from Chapter 6, we're going to be using that warp now, getting to near the end again of Chapter 8. So going from player 2 back to player 1. And what's interesting about this warp is that Ant is in a perfect position to set up another warp immediately after this, and he'll be doing that warp in Chapter 10, so coming up somewhat soon. So he has a tiny bit of combat to do in this area, and this is another reason why we use Stealth L for DPS is very good. Also, the range is fairly solid. So he's killing these enemies in a very particular order, very particular manner, to make sure that he doesn't get any weird, anything weird going on.
Yeah, if the barrels have chompies in them, and if you have a chompy that's just standing around and you don't kill it, that gate at the end does not go down. So right there, I didn't get a skip. It's very rare, but we call it. Oh, what do we call it? Diggs hostage skip or something? Where if you dash up to him and press C to enter this chapter, rarely he'll just take you to it without giving you the yes or no option. It's really funny and it saves like 2 seconds. It's very rare though, but fun little fact.
No idea what happens, or at least I don't.
Have you never seen it? It's like, it literally just takes you straight to the chapter. He just goes, follow me, and then you're in. No yes or no option. You cannot deny it.
So now we'll be swapping back over to Warnado.
Bad RNG.
Yeah, the Skylanders all have different like animations when getting put on the portal. So they have generally like 2 to 3 different animations, and Warnado has I think 3.
Yeah.
And Warnado and Ant just got the worst of the 3, and it ends up losing a couple seconds just off of RNG alone, which is unfortunate, but can't really do anything about it. And as a flying, or as an air Skylander, Warnado is just able to fly over the water, so it's useful for skipping a small portion of this level, but right here is the main reason we use it. Doing another soup jump, just hopping over that key gate, skips a lot of movement in that like interior area, so getting a first try is pretty good. It's one of the more consistent soup jumps in the game. Every soup jump is different, and we'll be explaining the quote easier versus harder ones as we get to them. Putting Ghost Roaster back on, gonna try to do another launch.
Nice.
Very good, first try.
Yeah, that one's a little tricky.
Yeah, that one can be annoying to get first try, but nailing it's very good. So if you recall the boss fights phase skips in Chapter 7, we're just skipping the entire boss now in Chapter 9. Instead of killing the Stone Golem, we just finish the chapter instead.
Because why not?
Yeah. And now we're going to be entering the life segment of this run.
So right there, I actually pressed C once and I hesitated slightly because if you don't do that, that cutscene becomes unskippable and it loses 6 to 8 seconds, I think.
Yeah, you unfortunately you can't just mash your way out of skipping cutscenes. Some of them you can, but not all of them. And that was an instance where Ant needs to explicitly wait just a little bit of time in order to skip a cutscene. We're not sure why the game does things that way, but it does. Interesting thing to note about this area is it's actually totally skipped in the glitchless run of this game because this is supposed to be used for, I think, just like a extra collectible.
Yeah, it's an elemental gate.
Yeah, so it's totally skipped in
He's
glitchless.
on the portal, by the way. Yeah. That's why we don't use the Giant's portal right there. It's because he was on the portal and he did not load in for 2 seconds.
Yeah, setting up another warp. We'll see that very shortly.
I like to consider this chapter the hardest. There's 2 soup jumps coming up, and they're both just really inconsistent, so.
Yeah, this chapter is one of the big run killers. So.
Yeah, this has never been a very fond chapter, historically speaking. Here's the first one. That's not gonna work. Nice.
All right, pretty good first soup jump. Of the 2 soup jumps in this chapter, that one's generally considered easier. Not easy by any means, but definitely the easier of the 2. This one coming up is very difficult.
It's not so much difficult, more so super inconsistent. It seems random. So sometimes you can get a first try, sometimes you never get it. That was close.
That was very close.
Ah.
Oh, that barely
It's
worked.
good
Oh
enough,
my
good
gosh.
enough. Yeah, that was okay. That one can just kill your run sometimes. Anyway, you ready for apples, Mark?
No.
Neither am I.
This is, I would say, in my opinion, the worst part of the run.
I think I might agree.
Yeah, this is apples. We call it that because there are apples growing on these bushes, trees, whatever you want to call it, and the rate at which they spawn is totally random. And also, there are these sheep trying to eat the apples, so you have to manage both getting the apples and getting the sheep to not eat them. It's one of the few instances where we actually opt to swap to a Skylander. Oh,
yeah.
I missed one of the
The
apples.
RNG looks okay, by the way.
Yeah, the RNG actually looks pretty decent.
It's not great, but it's good enough.
Yeah, the sheep are just being a little annoying.
Yeah, so the apples, every tree has like a different growth rate every time, and it grows between 6 to 11
Yeah,
seconds.
it's like 6 to 11.
We don't really know, but it's we've timed it, and 11 seems to be like the longest it can get, and 6 seems to be the shortest. So this is okay. This can vary between like saving a lot of time in your runs and killing your run. So
Yeah, so this wasn't too bad.
it's all right.
Now we're gonna not go up the vine to climb the Falling Forest. We're instead going to move all the way over here to go to Falling Forest, and then we can skip that cutscene. If you just try to enter it normally, it's totally unskippable. Waiting doesn't do anything. Timing it at a certain frame doesn't help. You have to decline the request and then go elsewhere. Using the 10 warp to go to near the end of Chapter 11. Now here's an instance where instead of doing invisible collision, there's visible collision, but we're just going to kind of go through it with Ghost Roaster without much problem. And we're coming up on the next major boss fight. This is the life fight. So gonna kill Zook real quick, and then we'll get into the technicalities of this.
By the way, Mark mispronounces Zook. It's supposed to be Zook.
Whatever.
Yeah, he says Zook. So you can make fun of him for it. I give you permission.
Dang.
Sorry, Mark. Okay, maybe not during the run.
I can't believe it. But yeah, this is the life fight. So if you recall from 7, we were able to just skip we were able to skip basically the entire fight. We unfortunately can't do that for life, or really any of the other fights for that matter. It only happens to work in water for some reason. But interestingly, life still has some time save. Very good stealth elf kill. Stealth elf can just teleport away and move very fast, do some weird damage. It can be annoying. But this is one of the only fights they are actually able to save / lose time in like these in-between phases. So you'll see Ant doing this very particular movement to intentionally take a bunch of damage on all those orbs coming in, and because those orbs get destroyed, it triggers the next phase of this fight quicker. So he doesn't take damage.
Dude, those shields.
Yeah, those shields.
I got like
are
4
crazy.
there.
The shields that he got are random, so the fact that he got like 2 in a row there, or however many, is
Yeah, I got 4 in total in tanking.
Yeah. Sometimes shields are useful, but right there is just kind of helpful. Yeah, this is one of the only fights where you can save or lose time, so he takes the intentional damage to get the next orbs to come in faster. And of the 4 that we're circling, in the first 2, it doesn't help to take damage on, but the last 2 it does. Now here is the final phase, or final in-between phase of the life segment. These orbs are just circling in. Snails are circling, and there's like 2 main ways to do this section. You can either stay on the outside and kill the snails, but you don't have to kill them because they kind of just die on their own. So what Ant opts to do is just kind of take these little circles on the inside. It looks very just mesmerizing to just take these tight circles and just not take damage. Very clean. Coming up is the triple Shadowlander once again. Going to be going for hopefully another double unload. We'll see what Ant can make happen.
Maybe. Ah, no. Yeah, there's a little bit of RNG in this one. That was just me not hitting Stump Smash enough, but Stump Smash has a lot more health than Zoop, so you want to do a little more Stump Smash. And then Stealth Elf there also has a little bit of RNG because she can just spawn anywhere in the map.
Otherwise, a very good Chapter 11. And that's how it looks when you don't get any of the unloads. You actually see the full cutscene, so it gives it more appreciation for the ones that you do skip.
Alright, Chapter 12 is another chapter that is generally considered very hard. Although, at least this one can be made consistent.
Yeah, Chapter 12, at least in my opinion, is one of the hardest in the run. You'll be seeing a lot of soup jumps.
Ah. There we go. That's not too bad.
That's the first one. He has to kill these enemies here just because he otherwise really can't set up the soup jump with these enemies just attacking him. So I'm going to kill the enemies real quick.
Aw, dang it.
Unfortunate.
Yeah, this one, that was unfortunate, especially because this one could just kill your run sometimes. And I had the setup. I guess I just jumped in the wrong direction. Yeah, this is a Chapter 12 moment right here. That... Oh my goodness, we're hitting something. There we go.
Didn't lose too much time to it. It's, in
Yeah.
my opinion, it's one of the hardest soup jumps in the entire run. So
I think I would agree. Stealth Elf's on the portal, by the way. Once again, Skylanders Giants portal. Would not recommend. Yeah, that one's it's difficult, and it's especially just because I think it's slightly camera angle dependent. A lot of soup jumps are. And so, since the camera angle gets slightly off, it can just sometimes, you'll just never get it. So, yeah.
Right here, Ant's doing some more 1P2C, but instead of just using 1P2C to get a warp setup, which he actually just set up a warp, and we'll be seeing that shortly enough. But instead of just doing 1P2C to set up a warp, he actually was doing combat with Stealth Elf while also moving with Warnado. Good soup jump. He's going to just walk into this corner and warp upward. Skylanders is a video game that certainly exists. Just kind of popping up on the top here and soup jumping over this little fence. Coming back down.
That up warp I got, it's pretty easy, but if you mess it up, it does basically kill the run because you fall down and you have to restart the chapter. So.
And it's going to be pushing all of these blocks in a very specific sequence. Like in Chapter 5, you have to push it in a specific order in order to get a cutscene skip. So right there, he's saving time just by pushing in a certain order. So now we're seeing the first instance of a like within level warp. So he set up a warp earlier and is now back near the end of the level because this level kind of just goes throughout itself, and that was a lot of damage at the start.
Yeah, that's fine.
Alright, we're good. Damage boosting through the mines. They deal a lot of damage, but thankfully he's able to just get through it pretty quickly.
Chapter 13. So we still have some difficult chapters coming up, although this one's not like soup jump dependent. This is Ghost Twister launch dependent. A different skip we can do in the game.
Yeah, 13 I feel like was one of the first chapters in this game to get like, well, let's see if he gets this launch real quick. Nice. Good launch.
Yeah, 13 and 14 both.
Yeah, 13 and 14 were like the first notable chapters to get like skips in them. We'll see in just a moment. That Ghost Roaster launch at the very beginning wasn't like the first discovery or anything, but we'll see shortly enough some of the first discoveries that this level had. So Ghost Roaster is able to just kind of go up this terrain right here.
Whoa!
Ooh, nice.
That was interesting.
So you didn't notice it if you're not familiar with the game, but Ant just skipped a pretty long cutscene right there. It's a very, very precise movement up that wall. and to get that cutscene skip is very, very nice.
What was interesting about it is I actually got it, so I was dashing into the wall, and usually Ghost Roaster just gets stuck in the corner for a little bit, and then you dash up, but he dashed up immediately as soon as I got to the wall, and I still managed to get enough height over to skip the cutscene, so yeah, it was a nice time save.
Yeah, good time save. We have Mega Bombs now.
Everyone's favorite.
They're just a physics object. Hole-in-one, nice. There's a little gap there in the terrain where you can push the Mega Bomb through, and if you get it through without it like bonking a wall or anything like that, we just call it a hole-in-one. It can also just roll down the hill and lose even more time. But that skip up there that Ant did, where he skipped the cutscene, and this one right here, where he just goes up that corner, were like the first like level skips in this game. Now, obviously, compared to warping and soup jumps and that sort of thing, they seem fairly minor, but they were like the first big discoveries that this game had.
Yeah, true. Ghost Roaster, I think, was the first Skylander that had like an actual glitch. And that was found, I want to say it was found by Doom Boom in Chapter 1. It's an outdated skip now. That might just be misinformation, but that's, to my knowledge, that's when the first skip in general was found.
Yeah. And the ones in 13 were actually doable by Stealth Elf, where you could kind of just roll up the wall, and that was how we first did the skips in Chapter 13. But we've now opted for Ghost Roaster because of Ghost Roaster's ability to launch.
Here's another relatively difficult chapter.
Yeah. So, speaking of launches, we're going to be seeing a lot of them in this level. 14 is full of them, and another one of the hardest levels in this game. So, it's going to get on this rock, get himself angled on this rock here, and try to launch up. It's a pretty precise angle to get.
Usually, if you don't get this first try, you'll end up getting it like 5th or 4th. There you go.
Yeah, so only a couple of tries, not too bad.
Yeah, I think that one's the hardest one in this chapter, although some people have managed to do it pretty consistently.
Yeah, some runners have just different consistencies with each of these different launches. The one he just did right there is one of the easier ones. He's going to go along here. Another one of the relatively easier ones. The one at the end, though, is very difficult.
That was weird.
I'm going to say, I'm not sure why this one isn't working. There we go.
Yeah. Nice.
Very good. First try at the last one's very nice. So really only missing the first one. The rest of them went fairly smoothly. So
2 crits? No crits. Well, we got one at the end. It doesn't matter. Yeah, you can get critical hits. Can't speak English. Critical hits in this game. And if you get 2 critical hits on that boss fight, you can just save 1 A press. So just something nice to keep track of, because we love time save.
So out of the tech portion of this run, going into the Undead. Before we enter Chapter 15, we're going to be collecting T-Bone's bones, reassembling his body, and allowing us to enter into the Undead area.
I love watching, I never pay attention to this, I love watching T-Bone just try to catch up with how fast they're going.
Yeah,
it's just like,
it's a very goofy animation.
They should make T-Bone a Skylander. He'd be pretty good for speedrunning, I think.
Forgot to mention back in 13, but we set up another warp in 13, and we'll be using it right here to get to basically the end of 15.
I dropped one on the stage. Bad RNG. Thank you. I needed that bad RNG. I need to pick up one of my Skylanders.
The game knew. So at basically the end of 15, and we'll be doing just another soup jump, getting into this monster gate, and popping over the gate and finishing 15.
Fun little fact, I actually speedrun on the floor of my house. So it's a little different using a desk. I actually have to catch the Skylander when I take them off the portal. But it's, you know, it makes it a little more entertaining, right?
So now we're entering 16, and this level has had a lot of controversy in the community for the skip that we're about to do, which I'm going to say is not a glitch. We allow it in glitchless. The basics of this trick is, the premise of this level is you're going around shooting down these walls with cannons and breaking open gates to run around and eventually push a cannon to get this wall at the end knocked down.
Nice.
So you can see that little like turntable, and you're supposed to get a cannon on there and rotate it, but the cannon at the very start of the level is positioned in such a way to where you can just shoot down the end gate without a problem. First try soup jump at the very end, very clean.
That was good. Yesterday I missed that soup jump for like 45 seconds.
But you can just use the can at the very start of the level, shoot it down, and you're good to go. So we've deemed it not a glitch. That had some controversy. We're introducing Darklight Crypt. This is effectively one of the DLC levels that this game has. You'll notice the ant got teleported to like the top of the hub. That's just where Darklight Crypt is relative to the hub. So he's using this to get into a warp position faster, as you can see with Zap. And now he's going to go back down with Warnado. Enter 17, and we're going to immediately see the usage of this warp.
By the way, I have 2 Warnados. One has speed, and one does not. Because having speed on your Warnado, or soup, bad RNG again.
Bad RNG, nice.
Having different speed on your soup changes how you can do the soup jumps. So generally, speed soup is what people want, but it makes some of the jumps harder. Some of them that aren't even in the run impossible. This one, it's very possible with speed soup, but I just prefer the consistency of slow soup on this chapter. So this is the only instance where you'll see me use a different Warnado. I don't know why it wasn't going up there, but yeah. So 2 Warnados. That's the only time you'll see the second one. Fun little fact. You only really need one to run this game. You can pick your poison, speed soup, slow soup. And onto the 17 boss fight.
Yeah, now we're in the Undead boss fight. This is one of the slower boss fights. You'll see a somewhat interesting thing here where he intentionally gets Ghost Roaster.
He do be
that was
dashing.
weird.
Yeah.
What he was trying to do was to get Ghost Roaster to just dash up so that he's able to just lock Ghost Roaster into the wall and just combo him to death. Ghost Roaster was not cooperating. But now we're in the Undead portion, and the gimmick of this one is just lasers and dodging them. And they move in predictable patterns, so you'll either know like for example, you'll either see this grid shape or it'll lock onto you. And where their spawn position might be random, but they might lock onto you. So
yeah, this is, in my opinion, like the most boring boss fight now. Just because, like, out of the other ones, there's like cool stuff to do, or optimizations, or even before Mark found that what we call a Blahaj skip in 7.
yeah,
Before that, there was at least RNG to deal with, so at least you had to pay attention to maneuver. Here, you literally just avoid lasers and wait for the game to finish.
interesting thing to note: the Shadowlander we just killed Chop Chop. Chop Chop actually has an infinite speed glitch, and you might be wondering, wait, if he has infinite speed, why don't you just use him for this entire run? Unfortunately, Chop Chop's speed is additive, so you do a trick to gradually increase speed slowly and slowly. But that infinite speed really has no use because you don't really have an opportunity to build it up, unlike something like Mario 64 where you can just go into a corner, go into some stairs, and get a ton of speed just exponentially. But
It is useful in Skylanders Giants, however,
yeah,
which is the second game of the series.
Yeah, there is one known instance of it being useful is in Giants. Unfortunately, not very useful in this game. In fact, the best place to build up speed for Chop Chop is out of bounds in 21, but just a little fun fact. In the last phase of the Undead section,
Just finishing up some lasers.
ideally, you don't want to take any damage, but generally dying isn't a big problem in this run. There's only a couple instances where death is actually something to be worried about.
Yeah, generally people have a backup stealth elf or a backup igniter, which we'll get to igniter much later in this run. Ooh, that was weird.
Yeah, that looked
I don't think I'm
interesting.
getting any unloads here. Maybe one? I might, okay, I'll probably get one here. Hex is pretty generous. Yeah.
Yeah, getting one loads. Better than none. And now we're done with Undead.
Upcoming is my favorite chapter of the speedrun.
Yeah, coming into Chapter 18, we're going to be seeing the introduction of another niche use case, Skylander. We'll be seeing in just a moment Drill Sergeant. So But first we have to grab a bomb, open up this wall, and then talk to Diggs the Vulcan.
Drill Sergeant. Any Drill Sergeant fans in chat?
Yeah, so we'll be swapping over to Drill Sergeant. And Drill Sergeant has the property of being able to drill through rocks. So this level and the next level for that matter, the intended mechanic is to grab a pickaxe at the very start of the level and mine your way through these rocks. But the cutscene to pick up that pickaxe, as well as just mining in general, is extremely slow. However, like being able to fly over water, being a water Skylander, and being able to just walk over it, these rocks have a property with Earth Skylanders where if you're Earth, you can just inherently break them. Drill Sergeant is an instance where he has just his own property of being able to drill through the rocks. And along with being fairly fast, not the fastest by any means.
Oh, that's unlucky.
Yeah, that enemy is in a very annoying position. Not too bad though.
Yeah, sometimes the enemies can get in your way there. I've had it a little more frequently recently, but it doesn't happen too often.
Setting up another warp. And the warp coming up is going to be pretty cool for reasons we'll get to in just a moment. Killing that habanero to skip a cutscene, or killing it from afar. But yeah, combining the dash of Drill Sergeant with the ability to break rocks is the reason why we use them for this chapter, and a bit of the next chapter as well. Well,
Right.
actually, not in any percent. In Glitchless, we do.
Yeah. Here we're gonna do another like hesitation. Oh, I thought was that load longer than usual, or was I just imagining that?
I don't know.
Okay. Anyway, right there I had a small hesitation with the C press once again. Here's Terrafin, by the way.
Yeah, using Terrafin for only this part of the run. And it's going to attempt some mid-air punches. So he warped very high in the air.
I think
This is hard.
okay.
Oh,
we're fine.
barely got it. There's an invisible wall blocking those train tracks, and he has to do these mid-air punches because it kind of just doesn't make Terrafin fall at standard gravity. It kind of just resets it. So those punches allow him to just move through the air in order to go over that gate. If he were to fall, there is a backup where you do another soup jump, but to get it with just Terrafin is very nice. And now he's Stealth Elf, getting to the end of the fire segment and another Chaos battle. Also making good use of Stealth Elf's DPS. Let's get through these enemies pretty quickly.
Yeah, you don't have to kill all the enemies the game presents. You just have to kill the ones that make the battle gate open. So, through like just playing the game, we've figured out which enemies you really need to kill and which ones you don't. So you do need to kill all these ones, but in the gate prior, there are a few enemies you can just skip over.
And now we're in the fire segment.
So this boss fight's a bit shorter. I mean, obviously we skipped over this stuff in Chapter 7, but in Chapter 11 and 17 there are 3 different elemental phases. This one only has 2. 7 also only has 2, which is nice, because, you know, we gotta not have to sit through another one of these somewhat boring phases.
Yeah. Interestingly enough about this chapter and its boss fight, the phases are completely different. So in Life you saw the common theme of these just orbs coming in, or the snails, and in the Undead you saw just lasers. And in the water one you didn't see it, but it's just sharks. But you will get to see some of that later, which we'll explain when we get there. But in Fire, there are 2 totally different types of mid-boss attacks. Sunbird is very difficult and can sometimes just do some weird stuff, so deals a lot of damage very quickly. Can also teleport around. Wasn't too terrible. And this phase...
I'm getting a phone call. I'll be back. I
hope Ant doesn't die? I mean, it looks like he's safe. It looks like he's safe. I don't know what's going on. I think he's okay. Hopefully he gets back into. Okay, there he is.
Did the Skylander? Okay, we're fine.
Yeah, I don't know how you didn't take damage there.
Okay, I was really scared for a second. I had to take that. I had to tell my parents that I wanted a well-done steak for lunch.
Anyway, with that out of the way, here's a Raptor. One of the easier ones to kill. Can deal a decent amount of damage, but generally not too bad. And I'll be going into the triple Shadowlander phase once again. This is going to be the last chance for Ant to get any unloads. So we'll see if he can get, hopefully, a double.
I'm trying not to die.
That's a lot of damage.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I died there yesterday. It was like, oh.
Yeah, better to not die.
I might actually get one. Let's see. How we feeling? Nice.
Nice. Getting fire. The fire section is very difficult to get the unloads.
All right, we're gonna do a quick minus warp here.
I'm gonna say, Ant's gonna be setting up a warp. So during that cutscene, he actually set up a warp. Yeah,
Not quite.
Or
Yeah, this is kind of a recent development.
yeah, he was able to warp back up to where the far viewer is during that cutscene. So intentionally waiting to set up a warp. Now he's setting up another warp with Zap, going into that corner, and we'll be entering 20.
Yeah, we in 19 we used to put a Skylander on at the end of the boss fight, but actually you can just minus warp up there because the minus warp coordinates, which actually we haven't even done a real minus warp yet, but before you even press the minus button, which you'll see in a second, your coordinates are spawned wherever the game puts you at the very start of the level, or hub for that instance. That's why we're able to get up there. But here's where a real minus warp is.
Yeah, so he's gonna press minus, unpress it, and that'll store the coordinates on player 2. And we'll be able to swap back to those coordinates on player 2 and remain being the same character. So it's an instance of another, like, staying within the level and warping, where it ends up saving time. And we'll explain the time save when we get there. But first we have to do a couple more soup jumps.
That's whatever.
That's the first one. Not too bad.
These two are a little tricky. That first one especially, I think. They both have different setups that are kind of unusual to other soup jumps, but...
Getting the second one pretty quickly. Nice job. No soup jump here, though. We have to push these blocks to get a laser to open up a teleporter. He's going to try to push this block and dash into a specific spot to hopefully be directly on top of the teleporter. Unfortunately, he missed it just by a little bit, but not too bad. He's going to grab this last key, do the minus warp, so he's still player 2, but he's going to teleport back to where he was before. Going over to Cinder.
That's my bad. I picked up the wrong remote.
Grab the wrong remote, yeah. I'm going over to Cinder to use her dash for a little bit, and also because we'll be over the water for reasons we'll explain in just a second. That minus warp skips both having to travel across a chain and also skips a enemy gate, or a lot of enemy gates for that matter, so it saves quite a bit of time. Here's another instance of a DLC level being used to teleport around the hub. Now we're over here for the Empire of Ice, and we're going to set up this warp to get us to basically the very end of 21.
I'm going to try something here real quick. Hopefully this works. Because this seems to be inconsistent. I'm going to try minus warping, and... Oh, it did work.
Oh, nice. That's a recent strat development. We're not entirely sure why that one specifically sometimes does and doesn't work, but it worked there, so the time save is very nice. This warp is very, very useful because it gets you through basically like a 4+ minute auto-scroller. Definitely the least fun part of Glitchless.
That should work. Nice.
Nice. So right there, you saw the instance of an elemental gate where you're supposed to be an air Skylander to go into that gate, but because we were exiting it, the game doesn't expect you to be air. So setting up another minus warp. We'll see that in just a moment. But he's able to just kind of fall in a certain...
I should have killed all those enemies.
That's okay. He's able to fall in a specific way in order to get the, in order to get around the air gate and continue being stealth elf to use the DPS and the speed. Killing these enemies pretty quick. Good one cycle. So now he's going to activate these 3 switches. This is where the minus warp comes in. It saves just having to do a little bit of movement. But it also allows us to swap over to... for whatever reason, I thought you were about to use Cinder.
Nah, Zap, yeah. I'm going to try something in Chapter 9.
Oh, right, that trick. Yeah, so we're using Zap here. It skips having to do this movement all the way down here from the top, so a little bit of time save. Pretty
Oh, the
convenient.
enemies are gone.
That's
Okay.
interesting.
Well, I will take it.
Good 21.
Yeah? We're going to put winged boots on the portal. Do you want to explain why we don't use winged boots?
Sure. So, Ant's putting on what's known as a magic item. So, along with the DLC levels, they also come with these things called magic items, which range from slowing down time, which, ironically enough, was actually useful in a speedrun. And we might be able to explain that in a moment. But this item here, the winged boots, increases your Skylander speed for a short period of time. And I might be thinking, why don't you have this on for the entire run? Unfortunately, using winged boots lags the game and also causes you to just eventually crash.
I might have had it there. Yeah, that's a hard trick.
Unfortunate. Ant was going for something similar, like akin to the Ghost Racer launch, but using Zap. Doesn't get nearly as much height, but it's just enough to get over that gate. So he wasn't able to get it, but still pretty good nonetheless. So, I totally forgot to explain why we're in 9, setting up another warp. So he's going to go back to the ruins, and he'll be entering Chapter 22, the final chapter of the run, actually. This has been a pretty good run so far.
Yeah, this is the part where I mentioned I'm actually on really good pace, but anyway.
Yeah, this is pretty good pace.
Splendid. Now I'll just use the core to send
So yeah,
everything.
we haven't had any unskippable cutscenes for a long time, but we've got one right here.
Punch in a few coordinates here and
So a lot of this run has been me talking about, oh, we're going to basically the end of the chapter, or we're basically at the end, but we have one more thing to do. This is the chapter where the warp truly just takes you to the end of the level.
well, I guess the core works pretty
So you'll see in just a moment that Ant will just teleport literally directly on the end of level
fast.
trigger.
I agree, Callie, but I think this is something our hero must do alone.
So setting up the final warp of the run. Swapping over to Igniter. And he's just going to fall directly on top of the end of level trigger. This is a very good run.
Yeah. I'm just gonna lock in real quick. Yeah.
All I'll say is good luck. So the reason we're using Igniter here is because we were talking about Stealth Elf and her DPS earlier. She has like the second highest DPS in the game, very quick to kill enemies. But Igniter has the fastest. You can kind of see on the right over there that the health bar is just going down super quickly. You'll notice it more later in the run. But you can see right there that Igniter, we call it just melts. He just melts through all the enemies' HP, so the Shadowlanders, Chaos, all that. Just doing damage super, super quickly.
A lot of RNG in this fight.
Yeah, a lot of RNG. So hoping for good RNG.
That's good.
Yeah, this is good RNG. So these are the sharks. This is what we missed earlier in Chapter 7. So interesting property of the sharks is they slow down time rather than just dealing direct damage. It plays like this animation of you getting like close to it, and it's kind of annoying. So skipping that is in chapter 7 is nice, and we try to minimize it as much as we can in this chapter. Each of these elemental phases have a few different.
Nice.
Yeah, this is good RNG as well. There's a few different patterns that can be done. So this is snails for the life section. What can also happen is there can be orbs either coming in from the top or encircling in on chaos. So each of them have different times. So he's going to be doing these quick kills.
There's RNG here. Good RNG.
Nice.
Sunburn can sometimes teleport and sometimes not. And 50-50.
50-50?
We win the 50-50,
Nice.
dude. Oh, wow.
Yeah, here there are two different patterns. There's this grid of moving lasers. The other one, the lasers kind of just spiral in from the middle. So one more section of Shadowlanders to kill.
Oh, uh-oh. Oh, okay, we're good. We're good. We're good.
Oh my god.
I
okay.
thought he was going under.
Oh my gosh. So what almost happened there was Flameslinger almost just fell off the map and would have lost quite a bit of time. But he didn't, so
Somehow.
So we'll take what we can get. We're now entering the final phase of the Chaos fight. We're going to be seeing Ant going for the strat called Melting. We're going to, yeah, this is unfortunate RNG. He is going to be attempting to one-cycle Chaos, and we're going to be coming up on very, very shortly. Going to be doing, oh, that is terrible RNG. You really do not want Sharks here because of them slowing down time, but he's just going to melt through this HP bar as quickly as he can. And you see that HP part just going down, down, down. We're very close on time. And that is time.
Come on, dude.
Oh my god.
Why at pace, man? That's so, okay.
So
That's world record. Let's start there.
we'll start by saying that is world record. That is
Oh
also the first sub-hour run of this game that has ever been completed live at Pace 2023. That is wild. That was seriously such a crazy run.
Not at pace, dude. Come on. I'm on the big screen. I wasn't even paying attention to my run, and then I looked at the timer in 21, and I looked over at Twitch chat, and I was like, oh, wait a minute. Because that was a good run. I wasn't even, like, paying attention.
Oh my gosh. That is a
Oh
wild run.
I'm going to cry after this. Oh, dude.
Oh my god.
It happened. Sub-hour happened, man.
Sub-hour is real.
You guys were live to witness that.
The first sub-hour in this game's history.
That's insane.
For reference, this Ant played within like a minute or two of his sum of best.
Oh, yeah. I PB'd over 2 minutes because I haven't PB'd since the new recent developments. But I don't want that to take away from how good that was.
That is genuinely such a crazy run. If you're not familiar with this, you might not be able to appreciate it, but this was incredible.
The ride is real, man.
Sub-hour happened.
It happened at pace, dude. I was doing attempts yesterday, and I was just like, all right, attempts are going pretty good. I'll have a fine run here, and well, I got my PB, I guess.
Yeah,
it's pretty good.
59 2x as well. Like not even just like a high 59. That was a solid sub-hour.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll do like a quick a few shout-outs. And plugs, I guess. So my Twitch is twitch.tv/megaantman. Starting Sunday, July 9th, I'm hosting a Skylanders Spyro's Adventure Any% tournament. We currently have 16 entrants, and sign-ups close today. If anyone really wants to start learning Any% and they have their Skylanders hidden up in their attic somewhere, go ahead. You have until the end of the day. No PB required, but it's going to be a very fun, competitive bracket. We've got a lot of great runners. It's a very active community. Very fun to be a part of. I recommend you joining the Discord. That's where you can find the sign-up form if you're interested. And if not, just come watch. It's a lot of fun. I'd also like to mention, this is the first time Skylanders has been performed at a live event. But later this month at ESA, we have a runner named River25 from Denmark. And he will be performing Skylanders Giants, the second game of the series, there at ESA. If you want more Skylanders action, there's more to come. And there's 4 other games. We've got plenty of people that are willing to help. And it's just a very fun community to be a part of. Very fun to speedrun. Hope you're enjoying the Flynn dialogue, by the way, here.
Also, you got sub hour on English.
Oh, yeah, I did. I mean, it's only 5 seconds, but... Dude, MarkAlarm, thank you so much for coming out to commentate. MarkAlarm is the Glitchless World Record holder. He's a very active member in the community, and he came all the way out here from Southern Virginia?
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Somewhere around there to come and commentate this run, so...
Yeah, well, I'm now even more glad that I was able to be here for it.
Yeah.
I think you should play the fireworks for
I
this
should.
run.
Real
You should do the
quick, real quick.
fireworks.
And in the crowd, I have OzoneNeutral. He's an active member in the community as well as a moderator in the tournament, and he came out here last minute to show up for my run, and I really appreciate that. And I think I made it worth it, right? By the way, the phone call I got in Chapter 19 was what? Oh, I have to. That's right. I'm doing this wrong. The phone call I got in Chapter 19 was not real. I just want that to be clear. However, I do like my steak well done, as controversial as that is. I'm sorry about that. Anyway, here's some fireworks. That's going to be it for me. Do you have anything to say, Mark?
I think we should just give it another round of applause for Ann for that sub hour and a crazy good Skylanders run.
I'd really like to thank Artemis behind the stream and Milo, anyone else who's running this this event. Good luck to all the runners coming up. I hope you all have a great day. And yeah, just enjoy pace. I'll see you guys.
See y'all.